Hi, I'm Danielle, and this is Chatter Out Loud, a podcast where I share thoughts and TV commentary on shows I like to watch. Now, before I start, I want to ask that you go ahead, like, follow, share, and subscribe. And on YouTube, where I upload my companion episode of my podcast, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. This way you can get a notification every time I post a new episode, and you won't miss out. It doesn't cost you anything to follow and subscribe, so go ahead, and thank you in advance. All right, so welcome and welcome back. I thank you so much for joining me. Your presence is very much appreciated. All right, before tonight's episode, I wanted to come in and quickly give a few things I've learned on the feeds. So let's get into it. The house guests are on slop. I'm not sure for how long. I think this happened last night. They came down to finding a padlock on the fridge and the slop bucket on the counter. All of them are on it too. From what I heard them say is that they did it to themselves per Kyle, right? Kyle said, we did this to ourselves. And I think it may have to do with them talking about production. So it's meant as a punishment for something. Maybe it had to do with food portion control or something like that. But we'll have to see. I don't hear anything about have-nots or a have-not room, so that hasn't come into play yet. But for now, all of the house guests are on slop, even Gino. All right. Oh, yeah, and they even said they had to take cold showers. So it's a punishment for something they did in the house or something they didn't do in the house. So either talking about production or not cleaning up or something to that effect. Watching them try the slop for the first time is hilarious, as is any version of Big Brother, or I shouldn't say any version. Celebrity Big Brother doesn't have slop. But in BBUS, we see when they first try slop, it's pretty much the same reaction. JC Lynn began crying while she was eating it. Herman gagged, jokingly though. Some of them commented on the texture. We hear that a lot. Gino, he just ate it straight and said it was actually pretty good and tasted like oatmeal. Yeah. Sorry, my phone is ringing here. They're commenting on the texture. Now, when I looked at them putting it in the bowls, it looked dark gray. Ugh. And BBUS, our slop doesn't look like that. Ours look beige. like it looks like oatmeal, but everyone always comments on the texture. So that I'm seeing the same thing here. But it looks dark gray. So it doesn't resemble oatmeal in my opinion. I don't know. Anyway, that was a big thing yesterday. Gino wanted to also firm up building relationships, as he called it. And I just call it building alliances. He talked about building a relationship, or he talked with building a relationship with Josh. He had a conversation with him, and they talked about having the same values. Anytime I hear house guests begin to talk about their morals and their values. Yeah. Gino put all of his cards on the table with Josh. He wants to work with him, Marty, and JC Lynn. He wants them to work together. And I think I kind of like this, right? It will definitely make for an interesting game moving forward. Don't you think? Also, Gino talked about Summer and said she wanted to try to put the honey bunch back together. Because remember, the first 4 people that entered the house were JC Lynn, Summer, Gino, and Josh. And they created the honey bunch. And so Gino was telling Josh that Summer said she'd be interested in getting that back together. At this time, again, I like this. I like that this is happening. It'll shake things up in the house and it'll make for a better game. And Kyle needs to go anyway before jury. He's a horrible player. We'll talk about that in a minute. All right. There was a lot of game talk yesterday, and that was that was huge yesterday in terms of the slop and them pulling in Josh. All right. One observation is that Gino did not share the plan of backdooring Kyle when talking to Herman. All right. So he was talking to Herman and he didn't even mention Kyle. He kept that close to his chest. And that leads me to believe that Herman will eventually become a target for Gino. Yeah. Yep. Uh, so it looks like a Gino, Marty, Josh, Summer, and JC Lynn alliance is on the horizon. And as much as Marty and JC Lynn, they are not my faves. They both can win competitions, right? They've already proven that. Summer has one of the best social games in the house. I don't care what anyone says, she does. She does need the win, though. But that social game is on lock. It is very good. Gino, Marty, and Josh have all proven that they can win comps. So I'm not mad at a Gino, Marty, Josh, Summer, and JC Lynn alliance. I'm not mad at it. I heard Gino mention that he'll keep Helena close, right? But I don't know if I necessarily trust that. Helena can't hold water. And she hasn't proven herself other than that she talks a lot around the house and spills a lot and talks to everyone in the house. That's the only thing she's proven to do, that she can talk a lot. But it hasn't resulted in a firm alliance. It hasn't resulted in a win for her. It kept her off the block. I guess that's working because she hasn't been anyone's target. Now her target is growing, but I guess it's working because she hasn't been on the block yet. All right. I think Herman and Tanisha has to be on guard, right? Because they are in jeopardy even more than ever now. Their names are getting tossed out there left and right. Summer and JC Lynn, they shared a makeup brush earlier this morning when they were getting ready. They were getting ready for the Power of Veto ceremony. And, so they're putting on makeup and all that stuff. JC Lynn let Summer borrow her makeup brush. So I think that could be their way of warming up to one another, right? I don't think these ladies had a problem with each other, really. I think Summer and Steph, they didn't like each other. But we saw that. We also could foresee something between Summer and JC Lynn because of Gino, but I don't know. I think they're warming up to one another because of this new plan, that Gino proposed to Josh. And if they align, they have to at least get along enough to strategize, right? And so maybe her lending her, or her meaning JC Lynn, lending Summer her makeup brush is like an olive branch, right? We'll just go with that. I don't think Summer will ever abandon Tanisha. But I think if this new alliance forms and it gets Tanisha on the block and the numbers are there to evict her, Summer would be the one vote to keep her, right? I think so. But I don't think she'll ever target Tanisha, ever. So someone in that alliance would take a shot and she would be in a nice spot so she won't have to get her hands dirty, or what is the term? Get blood on her hands. All right, just this morning, Gino told Summer about his plan to backdoor Kyle. Summer began to fill Gino's ear about jury management. She explicitly told him that she sees him going far in the game, and had he not considered putting Kyle up, he wouldn't have had her vote in jury. I said, yes, Summer, play the game. Oh my goodness, I love that. And remember, when she had her original one-on-one, after Gino first won HOH, she had her one-on-one, she put that bug in his ear about Kyle being on the block, right? She said, this is a perfect opportunity to distance yourself, talking about, to distance himself from Kyle, talking about how everyone wants him out and stuff like that. So it began getting him to think about putting him up, because everyone wants Kyle out. Now, of course, Gino, he's saying he had thought about that already, and he refutes that Summer planted that seed. That's ego, I think. But I love how Summer, after she said that, right? After Gino said that he already thought about it and stuff, Summer said, yeah, it helps when you say it out loud to get reinforcement. So she was like, yes, I know. And we both know that I planted this seed. So, and no one's going to convince me otherwise either. Summer planted that seed. She played that game. She told him, hey, this is your out. You can really distance yourself from Kyle. He's messing up his messy HOH. People are automatically putting you and him on the same side because, y'all were the bros and stuff. And so this is a perfect opportunity because Kyle is so messy and everyone's wanting him out. You're HOH now. This is your time. You can distance yourself, put him on the block. No one will be mad at you. And I'm telling you, that influenced him. I don't care what anybody says. Summer did that. Yes, she did. All right, she's a smart girl. And Gino's smart for aligning with her, right? And trying to keep her around. She knows stuff. She talks to people. And I guess Gino, he keeps making it a point to say he's building relationships opposed to the word alliance. Semantics, I tell you. All right. Summer also told him about wanting to realign the people in the Honey Bunch and adding Tanisha while having Herman as a side. I cringed when she said that because she hasn't picked up that Tanisha is a target for him and a couple of other people in their alliance that they're putting together. So I hope she's able to work through this and figure that out, I feel like I can get with where the house is going now, and the game is beginning to get more exciting again. I was kind of bummed because we see the same side of the house winning, but I like where it's going now. There's still two sides of the house, and just bear with me for a second as I try to figure this out. All right. We have Gino, Marty, JC Lynn, Josh, and Summer with Helena as a side. That's one side of the house. Then we have Tanisha, Summer, Josh, Moose with Helena and Herman as a side. Oh, and Betty as a side, right? Then we have Kevin, Jess, Helena, and Herman in the middle. Yes. We have Kevin and Jess. They're definitely floaters. Yeah, they're working together. I think both Summer and Josh are sitting pretty, right? They are in plans on both sides of the house, and they are not first in line to be targeted. People do not say their names first at all. The targets in the house right now, I see, everyone. Well, technically everyone is a target, but right now I say these folks' games are in danger if they don't win HOH. Let me say that again. Everyone's a target in the house, yes. But these folks I'm about to name, I feel like their games are in danger if they don't win an HOH, right? Based on how the house is aligned. So I would say Herman, Marty, Tanisha, Jess, and Kevin. Those are the top 5 people who have targets on their back. So they need to win, or their allies need to win in order for them to secure safety. I think there are other duos, yeah, but that's how I think the house is divided. You have to let me know what you think, all right? I'm interested again. I'm getting excited again. I look forward to how all of this plays out. I'm wishing Tanisha the next HOH win. She needs to, right? Come on, T. Keep the suspense going. Tanisha for HOH. She has to win it. All right. By the way, Kyle took it well when Gino told him before the renoms, before the power veto ceremony. He took it well when Gino let him know that he was going to be the replacement nom, right? And we'll talk about that in about 20 seconds. Kyle said that this was the worst thing that happened to him in the game, meaning that Kyle, winning HOH. That was the worst thing that happened to him in the game. And we agree. All right? And wouldn't you know it, before, I should have probably waited like 30 minutes before I just said that last thing I wrote down in my notes in terms of Kyle taking it well, because 30 minutes later, I think it was probably less time than that, Kyle began his tour around the house. Now he's telling Gino, Josh, JC Lynn, individually in separate conversations, mind you, that he's going against Marty. And it was all Marty's idea to target Josh. And that he is very upset that Marty is not taking any accountability for this. And he has there's truth to that, because Marty did influence Kyle to put up Josh. But this is now Kyle's new story. I'm going after Marty. Kyle is not leaving the house without a fight. And I think that's what you're supposed to do, right? In the game. You play until the end. All right, so here's the spoiler alert. We're talking about power veto ceremony. There were renoms. All right, so Gino is the HOH. He nominated Jess and Marty. The veto was played. Marty won the veto. Marty used the veto to pull himself off of the block. Gino replaced Marty with Kyle. And I'm all for this. Yep. I didn't want to see Kyle make jury. I'm tired of looking at Kyle. I'm tired of listening to Kyle. And I was giving him credit. I'm like, he's taking this very well. When Gino told him, hey, you're going to go up. Your HOH was messy. It was affecting my game. And Kyle was saying things like, yes, I think this is a smart move for you. You're gaining agency with the other players in the middle. You know, you're rebuilding trust. And this is the right thing to do in terms of for Gino's game. And I'm like, oh, look at him being mature. And no less than 30 minutes, he's going around the house saying, I'm going for Marty. If you keep me, I promise you, I'll still be a target. I'm going for Marty. Oh, God. That was pretty funny. And it's just as I was preparing to record this episode, I saw on the feeds that the phone began ringing in the house. Right? So let me get my little sticky note. The phone began ringing. They all ran to that mystery room. It sounded like, let's see, who answered the phone? Oh, Josh answered the phone, right? And the way he jumped over, Josh used to be he had to have been in, or he had to have run track, because the way he flew over, like he flew through the common area, jumped over the couch, and he was the first one in the mystery room. I hope they show that in the episode on Wednesday, probably, right? Because that will be after the POV ceremony. But I hope they show that. That was pretty funny. The way he hopped over that couch and was the first one in that room. Anyway, the phone began ringing around 2:00 this afternoon. It surprised everyone. Everyone, rushed to the room. And at first it sounded like the person on the call said they were a big fan. They loved the cast. They told them to all look in the mirror or look this way at the camera, and they all waved. I am now realizing this has to have something to do with an upcoming competition, right? So it's either going to be the order of the way or who answered the phone, right? Because I haven't watched any of the feeds because I had to go back to work. But the time that I saw, 4 people, the phone rang 4 times from what I saw before I just cut it off. It was Josh. He answered the first call. JC Lynn answered the second. Moose answered the third. And then Kevin answered the 4th time the phone rang. So I think it might have something to do with that in terms of the order of the call. I'm not 100% sure it would be what the person said on the phone, because you could barely hear it. Like all the house guests couldn't hear it, and they all weren't in the room. Some people were rushing to the room when the call was almost over, so I don't know how that would be fair to question it on what was said, and people can lie. Whoever answered the phone, they can make up something, but you couldn't hardly hear it. So it may have to do with the timing between each phone call and who answered the phone, who was the 4th person to answer the phone, or how many minutes, something like that. So I'm interested to see what that is about. All right. Do you think the house is split like I mentioned? You have to let me know. And you have to let me know what you think about Kyle going on the block. I mean, 2 weeks in a row now, we've seen the HOH target their own alliance. Kyle nominated Steph, Moose, and Josh. Steph was in the retreat with Kyle, and then Moose and Josh were in the Savage 7 with Kyle. And now we see Gino, he nominated Marty and now Kyle. Remember, they were the bros. You just can't make this stuff up. You can't, but we love it, right? All right, so that's all I have. So be sure to come back and give me a listen. I'd love for you to like, share, follow, and subscribe. You can also leave me a message on the podcast. If you're listening to the podcast, there's a link right on the landing area, so you can check that out. Leave me a comment for sure, especially if you're listening to me on YouTube. I'd appreciate all of that. All right. My name is Danielle, and you're listening to my podcast, Chatter Out Loud. Thank you so much for joining me. And as always, I appreciate your support. And that's all I have. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.